All right, man. So here we are. What's up, brother? I'm Loreseeker. I don't think anybody's seen our faces on this channel. Maybe they have from other content, but I'm Loreseeker, DragonM here, and we're here to do a Q&A because we thought it was well deserved. We have a growing fan base over here. We're super excited, proud of I'm proud of you, man, because without you, Monster Island Loreseeker would not exist because I don't have the time at all and the lore that knowledge that you have to bring these videos to life. So what's up, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. It's been a good day, good week. Everything's going well here. Funny enough, just real quick, most people, or actually nobody really besides us, other than a few people I've talked to, know that this channel happened halfway as a joke. It was right before Godzilla and Kong came out in 2021, and you were live streaming, and I was just like, yeah, we were talking about the upcoming movie, if we're who Team Godzilla, Team Kong, and I was like, hey, you were talking about branching out Loreseeker and doing stuff outside of because your main channel
Yeah.
Star Wars. We'll talk about that with everybody. And you're branching out. We're going to do Batman history. And I was like, yeah, I'll do a Godzilla one. I'll co-produce it. Just joking around. And this dude calls me 2 weeks later and like, hey, what's the name of the channel going to be? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're making the Godzilla channel, and we just do it for fun. We're both busy, hardworking dudes, and this is a hobby, but the channel has grown like absolute crazy,
Yeah.
particularly in the past month or 2, and where we felt like now would be a good time for the, lovely people behind the screens at YouTube to, see our ugly mugs here, outside of the narrating voices and, maybe get to know us a little bit as the people bringing them the content, so, I'm excited we're finally doing this.
Yeah, my memory is just not good on like remembering the timeline of things and how things come to be. Like it's just out one ear and out the other. So when you said that, it bring back a lot of memories, and I remember now because I was at a point where my Star Wars channel was really popping. It was kicking off. I was doing a military history channel, everything, and I was like, man, I had a lot of free time, and I was like, man, I could really keep expanding this. And you were um, a diehard Godzilla fan. I was a Godzilla fan growing up. I liked the monster verse and how everything was, and I'm a huge fan too. I was like, man, it's perfect. Like if you can do, because I can do the editing in like 20 to 30 minutes after you get the script done, the narration done. You say, hey, this is the image that goes with this, or this is the video goes with that. I was like, that's a perfect combination. And I can have another channel, and then I have a good philosophy of building a channel. And to be honest, the first 6 months to a year of this channel, it just really wasn't moving like my other channels. And I wasn't disappointed, but I felt bad because I wanted this to be successful for you. I was like,
Yeah.
man, this, if like, why is this not moving? And then it kind of hit me. There's no new Godzilla stuff, right? We were in like that little purgatory moment of timeline where there's nothing going on. And I just kept telling you, hey man, if we make it to the new content, things people will be interested in Godzilla again. They want to talk about it. And here we are. Godzilla minus one, Monarch TV show, new Godzilla and Kong. Now it's not versus anymore. They are now a team, and we have Scar King. There's like everywhere I look, there's a new Godzilla toy coming out too. Merchandise is out. It's a good time to be a Godzilla fan or just a monster fan in general.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's awesome, dude. And this was also your idea, the Q&A. So do you
Yeah,
want to
we
start
planned it
with
out
the
a while.
you want to start with a question? What question you want to hit?
Yeah,
I'll let
so
you be the guiding. You're the narrator, so you narrate us through these questions.
sure, yeah. Let's do that. So what we have for y'all here is we have 5 questions that we're both gonna answer. We're gonna try to make this quick. Any time that y'all give us watching this, we really appreciate. So we don't want you to sit here and have to watch like an hour and a half of us rambling on and on. So we'll make it as quick as possible. So we each have 5 questions we're both gonna answer. Lore Seeker's got 4 questions he'll answer, and then I got 4 questions I'll answer personally. So what we'll do first is I'm gonna do these a little bit out of order, and I'm just gonna kind of highlight them as I go.
Okay.
I guess we actually answered the first one. Um, I'm gonna see here. Yeah, we already answered the first one. Kind of what has the journey for this channel been? And
Yeah.
just to reiterate the fact, we're just two friends. We met online a few years ago during the pandemic and just kind of hit things off. And uh, Loreseeker, he did a lot of stuff on Twitch, not as much now. He's focused on YouTube, but fingers crossed, maybe we'll get a little gaming live stream from him in the future. Who knows?
Yeah,
And
I do plan on streaming again at some point, but it'd have to be very scheduled and I'd have to
yeah,
be I can't let it consume me like it did, man. It took away from the gym, food. I was like, man, I'm gonna keep streaming. I got, and then all of a sudden, like I've skipped lunch. And then, it was just getting to a point where it was affecting normal day-to-day life. So I just had to, put the controller up and just focus on YouTube because that's something that I can do when time permits, and the video's always there. Like
yeah,
streaming is live. Like I have to be physically present. With YouTube, which is great, unless we're doing something like this, I can make the video, put it out there. I can literally turn my computer off, go to the gym, and then I can check the stats and analytics 4 or 5 hours from now. And it's so much better for mental health and everything that I got going on. But the journey and is just going to keep continuing from here. I like where we're heading. We stick to lore, news, and just the good stuff. What I think brings fans and puts butts in the seats in the theaters is what we're
yes,
bringing to the table, right? We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. If we don't like something, we're gonna tell you. If we like something, we're gonna tell you. But we're gonna keep it mainly lore, character driven, and things you just want to know about. So
that's what we do. No clickbait. No, I mean, we have some pretty crazy theories. We keep the craziest ones to ourselves, but we're not going to make clickbait and say, "Oh, you won't believe this." I mean,
the- theory
titles,
videos, if they involve good lore,
yes,
are good in my book. You can
yes,
really start to expand on some lore with a good theory video. And I think I've done that well in Star Wars. And if you use the lore, so basically in reality, if you're using history, history repeats itself. So you can kind of predict where a story might be going based upon the lore that they're giving you. And that's what makes the theory good. So
absolutely. So that's kind of question. That's the journey for the channel. Is that we're just two buddies here having fun. Our work schedules both crazy busy. You'll notice sometimes we'll upload. Past few weeks, we've uploaded a bunch of videos, and then some weeks, hey, things are busy, or I'm working, traveling somewhere where I don't have phone signal. So we'll just
yeah,
pre-upload two videos and stay on top of the comment section and call it a day. So
your
that's
your
the
job involves traveling, and my job involves being awake all night and sleeping during the day. So I like right now in the winter, I have about 2 hours of sunlight a day, and like like today I have a day off, and at 4:30 it was already getting dark, and I felt like my whole day was wasted. I was like, well, there goes my day, like it's ruined. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm gonna be up for 12 more hours because I stay on the same sleep schedule. I'm not gonna go to sleep till 5 in the morning. So I just have to fill in little things like when people go to sleep. So I'll start watching podcasts, work on content, and all that stuff. But it's just the way it works, man. And I think people, if they start becoming more fans and they're watching our videos, they can appreciate where we're coming from because we're doing the same thing they're doing as well. Like we both have a 9 to 5. This is not our full-time job,
mm-mm.
not even close. And this is something we just do for fun, man. And that's why we just put our heart and effort into these videos. And I think that's why you can see the passion behind them.
Yeah, I know a lot of the times when I talk about this to other people, like our channel, what's your channel like? It's content. There's no clickbait, no BS. And that's because we're not trying to make a living off this. And if people are making a living, we're not talking bad about you. There's some other great Godzilla channels out there that we both watch, and we don't
You know,
steal from. But like, oh man, they do that really well. We should think of stuff like
when
that.
yeah, it's like whenever the channel is eligible for monetization, I'm gonna hit the check mark.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, we will take it. Um, but you know, it, we're still gonna be focused on the lore. Like, so basically, I think I'm trying to say is, let's say 5 years from now, we're a big channel and there's no news. There's no Godzilla news coming out. There's no secondary monster news coming out. And I'm not just gonna make a random clickbait video to get views to put money in the bank account. I was just like, well, I guess we're gonna go try to look at some old lore videos that we could do, like we're doing now, like we did, before all this new stuff came out. We were doing stuff like um, King Ghidorah's first appearance, or the best roars of Godzilla. Those type of lore videos. Instead of saying, "Did you hear the news that Godzilla's getting canceled?" We're not making that video. We're gonna stick to the lore video. So, and
Yeah,
I do
we'll
that in
watch.
the Star Wars and everything else that we do.
Yeah, we'll watch Final Wars for the 20th time and just scrape every just idea and just knowledge out of that, because
Yeah,
a lot of people, not everybody's able to watch Godzilla movies because of streaming rights or not owning physical copies and this like that. So
there's a
sometimes
lot of them.
there's more Godzilla movies than James Bond movies. I think 37 at this point. And so if you don't want to take time to watch them all, you're like, I watched Final Wars and King Caesar showed up. I want to learn about King Caesar, but I don't want to go watch a full hour and a half movie called King Kong versus um King Kong, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, where he first
Yeah,
appeared, which you should because it's a great movie. But say you just want to learn a bit about King Caesar because you saw him pop up in another project or comic book. Boom, we got a video for
exactly,
that.
man.
That's what we're gonna
Uh,
try to do.
there's so many characters. I obviously use Star Wars for reference, but there are thousands of characters in Star Wars. I've been reading Star Wars like it's a job since I was like 10 years old. There are still books I haven't read. There's no, you could read every single material out there, but you wouldn't have time for anything else. Like I'm 2 books in on High Republic, and they're making High Republic books faster than I can read them. I think there's
Yeah,
already like 10 out. And then well, I don't know the exact number, but they're on phase 3. So it's just like the Marvel movies. They came out with phase 1, phase 2, and now they're already in phase 3. And I'm pretty sure they're already halfway through phase 3. And I'm only 2 books into phase 1. So
same.
as a YouTube channel, as I should be doing, is I can go to the direct source, get the news that you need to know, put the lore into that video, that 60-second short or 3 to 4 minute video. So you don't have to read all these books. You can be like, oh, well, here's the meat and potatoes of this lore. This is what King Caesar is, instead of your family at bay and calling into work so you can watch the movie about King Caesar, something like that.
We are a meat and potatoes channel. And funny enough, you mentioned Star Wars. That actually segues because we covered the journey of the channel, history between you and I as people. We're not going to say creators. We're buddies. Obviously, we know that. So, what that segues into a nice next question is, how does Godzilla fandom compare to other fandoms? And this is a good question for both of us, but definitely for you. You grew up with Godzilla. I grew up with Godzilla,
Mhm.
but we are both huge fans of the fandoms, and I think that's very evident based on the stuff in the background of both of our office areas. Clearly behind me right now is primarily Star Wars stuff. There's not a shred of Godzilla in sight. So I think Godzilla fandom, it compares to other fandoms pretty well. Very passionate, um, long history. I mean, we're about to be on the year 70 of Godzilla existing. I mean, King Kong has been around for 90 years at this point. So, such a long history, such as with Star Wars. Star Wars is, I mean, we're approaching what it's going to be the 60, whatever anniversary. I'm not doing math right now. We're talking about fun stuff. I don't want to do math. But Star Wars got a big anniversary coming up. Marvel comics. I like Marvel as well. I'm not a diehard
Mhm.
read every comic book fan, but I really like Marvel stuff as well. Big history. So it's historical, spans multiple generations, and different generations have different taste and different styles as far as how they want the monsters. You have people that maybe grew up with the Showa era stuff, and I say y'all that come after us in the comments and say, "Hey, y'all said this wrong." Notice I'm saying y'all. It's a Southern accent, and that's hard to overcome Japanese
Yeah.
words and dialect.
Oh,
Every
it's
video,
it's
it's
super hard.
every video that we make, if I'm unsure on a word, I go online and I look up the pronunciation guide. I listen to an audio pronunciation of it. We try
Mhm.
really hard. So
Yes.
people in the
It
comments, relax.
that's my most stressful thing about YouTube, and you know this story very well. My best video, analytics-wise, is a video. It's a 60-second short, 59.9 seconds to be exact, because
Mhm.
60 seconds is technically long form on YouTube. And at the very last second, maybe like the last 3 or 4 seconds, I say the word, I'm probably gonna say it wrong again, escape, okay? ES, and then the rest of the word. Well, my country Kentucky accent says escape. EX, escape. It's the same.
Escape.
It everybody knows what I'm saying. There's not one person out there going, what did he just say? What does he mean by that escape? Well, the comments, of course, blew up because everyone had to say, "Hey man, you're pronouncing the word escape wrong. It's not escape, it's escape." Well, that video got 1,000,000 views. So thank you guys for that. But there was like out of the 1,000,000 views, there's like 400 comments about people just like not attacking, but they were just so frustrated with me saying this word. And then so whenever we started this Godzilla channel, I didn't realize, you know, how many words of Japanese that we were going to be using. And so for me, when I'm doing the editing, I'm double checking to make sure it's spelled right. Is the word app that we're using to edit the videos, is that right? And then I'm just hoping that you got it right, because if you
Yeah.
get it wrong, I get it wrong. The algorithm that feeds the words to the video get it wrong, and I'm just like, man, But I learned about a year ago. I learned that making simple mistakes like that, people do it all the time on purpose.
Yeah.
There was there's a new singer, actress or something, and she used to be a goalie in hockey. Well, she set up the pads wrong. Um, and I don't know anything about hockey, so they're gonna get mad about this too. But
Hockey commenters are coming.
she put the goalie pads that go on her legs wrong, and took the picture of a modeling picture. And then, of course, the entire hockey fan base all had to go to this whatever it was that she was advertising, and they all had to comment. Well, what does that do? It feeds the algorithm. Well, then on a podcast, she's like, "Yeah, we did that on purpose. I purposely moved those over because we knew that it would create controversy in the comments." Now, did I say the word escape wrong? No, but I'll tell you, there's been times in the last year where I messed up a word, and instead of editing it, I just leave it in. I'm like, as long as they know what I'm doing or saying, I'm just gonna leave it in.
That's the way
And
to be.
it's just because it's the way we talk, man. Like,
It really
y'all,
is.
where's the cornfields at, boy?
Finna,
So, yeah.
like
So
we're gonna say Godzilla was fixing to go to battle. Godzilla was finna go to battle. It's just
yeah,
you gotta
yeah,
you gotta write it out and spell it properly. The biggest challenge is some of the names of the human characters.
mhm.
Like monsters, that's easy, but our first video that ever hit the algorithm, do you remember what that one was? It was
Um,
the Shinomura or whatever
mhm.
from um it was one of the Godzilla graphic novels,
Yeah,
and I recorded a 3-minute video of me saying that word different ways to try to match the pronunciation guide
yeah.
before finally landing on. And when you say it when I say it in the video, every time I go to say it in the video, I slow down and I say it so carefully because I wanted to say it right.
Right.
And that video was our first one to blow up.
Yeah. Well, growing up, I pronounced everything however my kid brain read it at the time, because all the Toho videos that or movies that I watched were coming home from school and watching them by myself and just learning the characters. So for I was reading the subtitles. So for literally until I met you, I called Gigan Gigan.
Keegan.
In my head, it's Gigan. And so it's still to this day, it's like if we were just having if we just went out and got some food and we were just talking about it, I would probably slip up and say Gigan, because my kid brain knows it for years. It's like a muscle memory. And I've done that to other characters too. Um, and it's just part of it. But I'm glad I'm not the one narrating these videos. I'm just doing the editing.
Yeah. So, oh, man, it's that's something else for us.
Or man, I did another one I did was Han Solo, but I was doing a Lando. It was a Lando video with Han in it in the lore. So in the video, I said Han to be funny. And people were commenting on it like, "Hey man, you're pronouncing Han Solo wrong." I was like, "That's what Lando calls Han Solo Han to be
He
a douchebag to him." You know,
he does. He calls him Han, yeah.
he calls him Han, and I was like, "Man, they're like, did that joke go over everybody's head? Like, come on, man!" And then other people were getting it like, "Hey, I see what you did there," because it's a Lando story lore video, and I was like, "Man, I thought that was clever," but it just went over some people's heads. So,
Well, the same as how Han calls the Millennium Falcon. We call it the Millennium Falcon, the Falcon.
Yeah, the
The
Falcon,
Falcon.
yeah.
And we're just like, the Falcon, what?
Well, Harrison Ford's on record saying like, basically, he didn't care or want to know the pronunciations of things, and he was just, pretty much saying however he felt like it was supposed to be said. And there's a couple other instances in Star Wars where that happens, and I think originally that's what Billy D. Williams did with Lando to Han, but it was so funny, and they actually kept it in that he just did it for, you know, even in audiobook recording. When I listen to the Thrawn, he calls him Han. The person doing the recording calls him Han. So it's just a running joke now for 30 years, 40 years or whatever.
Just a continuation of good Lauren jokes. So
Yeah.
I think I think that covers how Godzilla compares to other fandoms. Um, it's among the big it's among the big bad great ones. It's lengthy, it's multi-generational, and there's different flavors for everybody. There's serious Godzillas, there's fun Godzillers, there's Godzillers, wow. There's fun Godzillas, there's serious, angry, evil ones. There's a Godzilla that talks to other monsters. There's everything a little bit for everybody. And most Godzilla
Yeah.
fans I know, they like them all. They maybe like one better, but nobody says, "Oh my gosh, I hate that Godzilla. I refuse to watch that Godzilla." Okay, wait, no, I lied. There are some of those people, but it's nobody I know personally or nobody involved with the channel. So
Yeah. So
don't
to
worry
get
about
to
us.
the meat the actual question, how does the Godzilla fandom compare to other fandoms? I From my point of view, it's it's not as it's really good fandom, first of all, to answer the question. But to compare it to other ones, like Star Wars, man, it's Moss Isley, man. You don't know what you're gonna get yourself into. There's some dark corners of the fandom in Star Wars. There's from doing the military history YouTube, there's some dark corners over there. If you get anything wrong, even like one number wrong, like you're gonna know about it.
Yep.
Which, granted, it should. It's history. You can't water down history. History is what it is, and it needs to be told as accurately as possible. But a simple mistake you'll get destroyed over there. With Godzilla, maybe I'm just not in the know. I do follow a bunch of Godzilla accounts, but I'm not seeing massive uproars for things. I do know Godzilla. Is it called? Do you call it Godzilla 2000? What is Godzilla called with
The
in the
1998
book?
one,
Yeah,
Matthew
1998.
Broderick. Yeah,
I know
just
that
most
got a
people just
lot of
call it
hate.
Godzilla 98, yeah.
I know it got a lot of hate, but when I was growing up, when that movie came out, um, everybody talked about it. Like, hey, you seen the new Godzilla movie? Like I was only 7 or 8.
Yeah.
But for that year before the Phantom Menace came out, that's all I cared about as a kid. That's all I wanted to watch. Hey, come home, throw a hot pocket in the microwave, watch Godzilla 98, and then of course Phantom Menace came out, and I don't think I watched it again. But I like the Phantom. I like the Godzilla Phantom, and our comments are much better because you. So for some transparency, Dragon M does almost all the replies on the comments. I'll do a few, especially if I'm already logged into the account instead of Star Wars account. So I'll reply, but I do see them, and there's 1 out of 10 times I'll see one. I was like, man, that why does he got to say that? You know. So the fandom is much better than my other YouTube accounts, and I appreciate everyone that's subbed and wants to be a part of the growing community, because if what we don't want to have happen is a couple of thousand subscribers who just want to spread hate sub to us, and they take over the comment section, they take over the community posts, which you also do
Yeah.
exclusively as well. And then it's not fun for anybody, you know? And that's all we want to do here is have fun. I want 20 to 30 comments in the videos talking about how awesome Godzilla is instead of 3 or 4 people just bashing it. So,
Yeah. And we're not sunshine pumpers by any means. We're critical. We're going to get to a time where, as a channel, we're maybe reviewing and ranking Godzilla movies. I love them all.
mhm,
So if I have something ranked, 20 out of 37, I still really like that movie, but I'm going to
yeah.
fairly share my critiques of it.
If if Godzilla minus one was a bad movie, we would have said it, but it's
Yep.
not. It's great. I loved it.
Incredible.
It is an amazing movie. And if Godzilla and Kong, the new empire, is not good, we'll make it known. We're gonna talk more about the good parts of the movie, but we're also gonna be like, yeah, things could have been done differently here. So
Yeah. That's
expect that. Like they're like Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi. It's known that those could be better, but I still try to pick out the best parts of it, and that's what I roll with, because I don't have time, man. I don't have time. No one has time, um, to, spread the positivity, defeat the hate,
always look for
So,
the good. I got a
yeah.
friend that huge Godzilla fan. He has a channel on YouTube. I'll shout him out another time. I actually plan on collabing with him sometime soon to maybe do some rankings and talk like that.
Mhm.
And his review channel, he's a certified. He's working on. He's full blown movie critic, and his catchphrase is always look for the good. So we're gonna try that. We're always gonna look for the good because there's always good, no
Yeah,
matter the Godzilla movie.
the older I get, there really is some truth is that you can learn something from everybody, regardless if they're the worst egg or the best egg, So,
There's still
and I
an
try to
egg.
do that with whoever comes into my life, whoever whatever movie I'm gonna go watch. I'm like, what's an actual positive? Because people worked on that stuff. They tried, they put in their best effort or whatever, and you can find something good, right? So,
Always, always, always.
what we got next here?
So, speaking of being good, this is something some fans like to compare the two. I don't because it's just different flavors. Um, Both of us are going to answer this. How does the MonsterVerse compare and contrast with Toho? And I think it contrasts, or I don't think it contrasts hardly at all. I think it lines up. There's serious stuff. Maybe the MonsterVerse hasn't got as serious as Toho has. Toho has at its deepest points.
Mhm.
It's attempted to, especially Godzilla 2014 and a good portion of Skull Island. So it's got the serious moments, it's got the deepness. Um, I think it compares there quite well. Obviously, it's only got 4 movies and half a TV show with a 5th movie coming to compare to a vast majority of all the Godzilla movies coming from Toho. So I think they line up quite well. And
Yeah.
it is also the MonsterVerse has showed serious, like bad guy Godzilla, and it's also showed good guy Godzilla. So I think they compare quite well. They're very different, but at the same time, the MonsterVerse has lots of different flavors in it already into a short,
Mhm.
it's kind of a short sampling of it so far.
I
But it's got a
think
little bit of everything so far.
I think they do a good job at coexisting, and I think they do a good job. I think MonsterVerse does a good job at pulling from the source material without plagiarizing. Like,
Yes.
they Godzilla versus Kong, which I think that was. I personally think Godzilla versus Kong should have been like the seventh or eighth movie, so you get more Kong story and more Godzilla story fleshed out before you actually do the team up.
Yeah.
Which was my biggest complaint with Batman versus Superman. Like, if you really want that movie, let's let that be down the line. Let's get Batman a solo movie. Let's get Man of Steel number two. But let's not go off on that tangent.
No.
The the MonsterVerse does a really good job of, taking from Skull Island, building the Monarch stories out, and they do stuff that Toho hasn't. They're taking like the Bigfoot stuff, right? They just threw it in there, right here because that's an Americanized monster from folklore, and people believe it, and they've thrown it in there, which I think is really cool. And you might be able to explain this better, but a lot of the things that Toho did, so like they're like MonsterVerse is Americanized, so they threw in Bigfoot, like King Caesar, and a lot of those they take off from some ancient Asian lore, and
Yes.
so they're doing the same format. And as a Godzilla fan, I'm excited that hopefully with the success of -1, which I don't think Toho can get videos out as fast as MonsterVerse can. But if it's kind of like, hey, you get a MonsterVerse video in the movie in 2024, then a Tahoe one in 2025, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can't ask for more than, as a fan. Like every year, you get a different studio with a different take on Godzilla, and then at that point, they're gonna start throwing in video games, books, comics, merchandise. It's a good time, man. And with the success of everything going on, they're contrasting very well.
Yes. And
Comparing very, very, very well.
what most people don't know, because some people say, "Oh, Toho this, MonsterVerse this," and they compare the 2, like one's a turd sandwich and one's a ham sandwich. They're
Mhm.
both sandwiches, and what a lot of people don't realize, and some people do, Toho is involved with the MonsterVerse. Toho learned their lesson on giving other people permission to use Godzilla without their help with 98. Now, I like 98 Godzilla, but
It's fun.
it's very different and it's a lot of fun. But Toho was still in the middle of making a lot of movies.
Mhm.
And so they kind of, how everything with that ended, they took their toys back home and they played by themselves for 6 years. And then 2004 to 2014, no Godzilla content. It was just this huge drought, similar to what they had between the Showa and Heisei eras. And what happened at the end is the MonsterVerse comes through, and Legendary Pictures is doing the MonsterVerse, and Toho is involved. They helped approve of Godzilla's design and some of the storylines, and of course, King of the Monsters used Rodan, Mothra, King
Yeah.
Ghidorah, and the MonsterVerse had to turn around and make a bunch of their own monsters because each of those Toho monsters, they're used with permission and with guidelines, such as Godzilla can't be shown emoting, like smiling or dancing or eating and stuff like that. Toho said, "You're gonna use Godzilla, but you can't do this with him, and you can't do that."
Yeah.
They're helping with it, which I think is a recipe for success. So Toho wants the MonsterVerse to succeed because what they've realized now, especially with the success of -1, Toho and the MonsterVerse can exist at the same
Mhm.
time in
Yeah.
harmony while being completely different at sometimes, and that is A-okay.
It's I've always had a tough time explaining to people, um, like a comic book movie is a good example. You can you can watch one movie and then go read a comic. Like, let's use Batman as an example. You can watch a Batman movie, has its own story, and then you can read a comic book and it has a completely different version, right? It's just a different story, a different universe of these characters. So y- they don't have to be cohesive or anything. Like you have your Toho version, it's Godzilla in the World War II era, and he's just wrecking fools. Um, we won't get it. I don't think we're gonna get into spoilers, but he's just doing what Godzilla does. And then MonsterVerse, he's kind of our hero, right? So it's cool. And then if Toho wants to make a movie next year where he's the complete protagonist defending Japan, I'm going to be there to watch it, and I'm going to accept it for what it is. It's its own unique story in the Toho um, belt of movies, right? So,
Yes.
um, yeah, just be happy we're getting a lot of content.
Absolutely. So I think we did an excellent job answering that question. We got some good stuff out of that. I just completely we have a Google Drive that we work in together, and we have all these video list ideas and stuff where we can kind of work together and see things at the same time. And I'm just ruining the format of this.
No, you're
So,
the next question is, in what direction do you think the MonsterVerse should go?
that's a very good question, and I guess we're gonna know in April, uh, kind of at least partially how they're going, I
Yeah.
guess, and it's underground. I think the Hollow Earth. I don't think they're gonna beat it with a stick. I really hope they don't. I hope the Hollow Earth exists to help, maybe not tell the stories going forward, but if they use the Hollow Earth to hatch storylines going forward, that'd be
Mhm.
a good thing. Um, if they want to go into, like you said earlier, the MonsterVerse is using Toho lore without plagiarizing it.
Yeah.
There's creatures, well, Ghidorah is already there, that are from outer space. We've had alien invasions in multiple Toho projects,
Mhm.
dating back to the 60s and as recent as 2004 with Final War and the Zillions, coming to Earth and controlling the monsters to try to take over everything. But they forgot about Godzilla, as Captain Gordon says.
Yeah.
So that's a way the MonsterVerse could go. But one thing they've done is they've been patient. So what I don't want the MonsterVerse to do is that I don't want them to start saying, "Oh, everything's good. Let's just start pumping content, pumping." I don't want them to go the route of Marvel. And I'm still a big Marvel fan. I've watched all the new stuff, the shows. I keep up with it, even though it's sometimes exhausting because there's so much. And
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
MonsterVerse began in 2014. In 2020, 10 years later, we're just not getting our fifth movie. It's a movie every 2 years if you average it out. That's a fine formula, in my opinion.
Yeah. With the MonsterVerse, and you look at other stuff, other media, you know, as long as they don't kill off Godzilla, he's not a human being that has to show up on set and act.
Yeah,
Like RDJ did his time. He did like 10 years of Marvel. You can't really ask for more Marvel. It's like that's a big chunk of your life. 10
yeah,
years. And a lot of people are like that. Everyone's like, "Well, why don't we get a sequel to this or a sequel to that?" Well, the actors just it's just done, right? They're like the Harry Potters. Those they were kids and they were at the end they were adults. It's like, well, hey man, like I need to have something else like besides just the Harry Potter being my life. With Godzilla, you don't have to have a movie every year. Um, I do always think more content is better, but you could do just every other year, just keeping Godzilla and bringing in new monsters and making, now that we have like it's not just we keep saying I keep saying Godzilla, but King Kong is just as much as part of the MonsterVerse as Godzilla.
yes,
And you could go down this rabbit hole of King Kong movies for the next 10 years if you wanted to. The same with Godzilla, but hopefully in the year 2035 we have 5 movies apiece and they're just doing their
yeah,
own thing. Godzilla's up in on Earth and Kong's down in Hollow Earth. They're both kings of their realm. And then every 5 years we get a team up movie, just going to work against some one big bad dude. I think that'd be great.
yeah. That'd
Um,
be crazy. I'll be in my 40s and we'll be making YouTube
yeah,
content about it,
dude.
talking about it.
So
Absolutely.
to the direction MonsterVerse should go is what I think they should go and how I just said it.
Yeah,
And but they really need to figure out or get some questions answered. Like one, how big is the Hollow Earth? Like, yeah, I get that it's from my understanding, it's just the middle of the Earth, but is it as big as the moon? Right? Like, can Kong travel across one side of the Hollow Earth to the other in 30 minutes, or does it take him a week, or can he even do it without taking a break? Because like he's been in there, and then all of a sudden, Scar King just arrives. Now, if it's like this big landscape where you just can't find anybody, then there's going to be others after which I'm assuming they're going to defeat Scar King, right? Because that's what heroes do, or they're going to go some awesome route, and then who knows what happens. But
yeah,
um, there could be other Titans down in the Hollow Earth that even Scar King doesn't know about. He's the king of the Hollow Earth. From our trailer theories, right? What else is lurking in the Hollow Earth? So,
so
and
many
then you
possibilities
have
down there.
yeah, and they can do a lot with that. Um, and as we're seeing in the Monarch TV show, there's still Titans on the actual, or like the Earth surface, that we don't even know about. We're getting new creatures up there, and Godzilla's having to do stuff up there as king. So yeah, just continuing the way they're going. I wouldn't change anything. I am kind of nervous for Godzilla and Kong because the team ups are like what I was saying earlier. They can get kind of tricky. And Stan Lee explained it best, with Godzilla versus Kong. But Stan Lee says you can never have one hero defeat another if you're doing a versus, because then you're alienating an entire fan base.
Yeah.
There's some people that probably don't even care about Godzilla. They're only watching these movies because they love King Kong. So if Kong loses, well, how's that fair to them? They paid for the ticket. So they just have to be careful with how they go with the team up stuff. But I like the direction they're going, and we'll see what Scar King brings to the table.
I think Scar King's gonna be a bad dude. Now, there's leaks out there about another villain. Just a heads up, if anybody comments that name, yeah, we've all seen it, but we're not gonna make any videos about this monster, the name of the monster, anything like that. Yeah, it could probably get a lot of clicks and views, but I don't want to do it
Yeah,
until we know something official. So just y'all understand, if I delete your comment, it's nothing personal. We just really don't want that out there
I
yet
kind of
until,
knew
you know.
I kind of knew it was coming, but I was still surprised with Mecha.
Yeah.
So those surprises are they're so much better if they really are what they are, a surprise. If you like,
Yeah.
social media ruins so much, man. And if there really is a secret villain or some secret awesome plot in this, well, who said it? Ryan Reynolds is trying to start a movement because people are posting Deadpool 3 leaks.
Yes.
He's like, God, guys, this movie is going to be awesome. I promise you. I promise you, I'm putting my best foot forward in this. And so is Hugh Jackman. But you're posting stuff that's going to ruin the experience. And then soon you're going to see the whole movie without even watching it. And he's like, I promise you, if you go to the theater and watch it how it's meant to be watched, you're, because I know like 10 characters in this movie now.
Yeah.
And I should only know that it's Deadpool and Wolverine team up. I shouldn't know any of the other characters in the movie, but I
Yeah.
do, because you can't avoid it. There's no way. If you're scrolling on any type of social media and you have that algorithm, you're toasted. So I'm obviously still excited for Deadpool 3, but you want to go into these things surprised. So
Yeah.
um,
Like,
but other
imagine
than
if
that,
they would have hid Ghidorah from King of the Monsters, and he wasn't in any
yeah,
of the trailers, and all of a sudden they go to Antarctica, there's a friggin' ice wall in Ghidorah, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh," and
yeah,
that's ruined before the movie. It's just like, come on, people.
yeah, definitely, man.
No one is going to be impressed that you know a movie leak and share it ahead of time. It's not gonna get you a date or a friend.
Yeah,
And if it does, good for you, but it's probably not gonna work out just from a historical standpoint. So, yeah, we're not gonna be cool to, leaks and spoilers, and now even though it's yeah, oh, confirmed, the director was holding the toy and he posed for it on Twitter. I still probably am not gonna talk about it, so, um,
no.
yeah. So real quick, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get into our individual questions because we did our team up questions. Just like with Godzilla and Kong, we did our team up, now we're gonna do our solo movies here. So do you wanna go back and forth, or do you wanna knock out all 4 years in a row?
We can go back and forth.
Alright, so we'll go back and forth, so we'll start with you. So you grew up a Godzilla fan,
Mhm.
but you're still relatively new as far as taking in a lot of it and really focusing on what's going on. So what has been your favorite Godzilla lore, or even King Kong, Kaiju, Pacific Rim, Gamera, everything? What has been your favorite kind of niche thing to, or like lore and stuff to get into as far as Godzilla stuff?
Yeah, growing up as a Godzilla fan, I was just a kid watching it for fun. I never really took in the whole story. Like anytime the human storyline was on screen, that's when my child brain would just wander off and do whatever I was doing. And as soon as Godzilla was back fighting Megalon or whatever, I'd be back to watching it. And so I didn't really have any type of knowledge. I just knew the characters' names, Godzilla, and what he brought to the table, and so the basics of it. So, dude, just learning anything, because I'm a lore guy. I say that word all the time. It's literally my channel's name. So anything that you can give me, but I love the stuff that like the research type stuff where you really have to dig in and, it might not be said on screen, but they imply it on screen and then you got to go look it up on the internet or a book and find all these like side quests basically is what I call them. Like this
Yeah.
the side quest lore is what I like to know. Like the video that you made on King Caesar, like the background of why this character is the way he is. Like that's the stuff I like.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go.
He's the lore seeker for a reason, guys. We're in it for the meat and taters.
Yeah. Um, I'll just read off your questions then.
Yeah, that works.
How long have you been watching Godzilla? And did you ever struggle to get into watching Godzilla movies?
So we're gonna have some transparency right here and some childhood trauma. Jokingly, of course. I've been a Godzilla fan. I started watching Star Wars when I was in second grade, I believe, and I remember watching Godzilla even before then. One of my aunts, I have two aunts that are huge movie buffs. They love movies, watching movies. So whenever they'd watch us or babysit us, we're watching movies. We're cracking out. Oh, here's this classic. She's not going to pop in Toy Story for us. We're going to watch something old from the 70s and 80s. She was introduced in the good stuff. And part of that was Godzilla. And I was terrified, mortified, terrified to the point where we got a VHS tape for Christmas one year of King Kong versus Godzilla. And that is one of my all-time favorite movies. When the music from it popped up in -1, I nearly jumped out of my seat, but I was terrified. I hid the tape from my brother when we were kids. We had a pool table in our basement. I hid it in the bottom of the pool table in the return. So he wouldn't turn it on and make me watch it because I was that scared. And then I watched Godzilla and Gigan. I thought Gigan was going to use his little buzz saw to cut through our house and kill my parents and stuff like that. So yeah, I did struggle to get into Godzilla. I
Pretty
did.
vivid child imagination you got there.
And I hate it. I love having a creative imagination. It's helped me out
Yeah.
as far as academic career, however long ago that was, and even what I do for work now, you have to have creative stuff like that. But man, the imagination running wild has cursed me my entire childhood. So I was
Yeah.
terrified of it until Godzilla '98. Because it was my brother. It came out near my brother's birthday, and we watched it in the theaters when I was, I believe, like I said, we were 7 or 8. We're the same age, so we're around 7 or 8 years old when that came out, and I got to see it in theaters, and that really helped me control my fear of Godzilla until all the little baby Godzilla eggs started hatching and chasing the people through Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Then I was still a little bit reserved for a while, but then Star Wars came out, and I was into it, and then I was a little less Godzilla stuff going on there. But I did struggle to get into it, yes. I was reading through this beforehand, I was like, "Why did I ask that question?" I said, "Oh, yeah, because I was a scared little kid about Godzilla, so
Yeah.
that's why I wrote that one in there."
Man, I think a lot of other people can relate to that. Godzilla really didn't do that for me. It was the more like the Blair Witch Project,
Oh,
Paranormal
yeah.
Activity stuff for me growing up because it's shot like it's real. And
Yeah.
then like that's when I really started to like, looking over my shoulder when I'm walking in the hallway at 3 a.m. Like like Godzilla was just all fun for me, man. Like it was the fighting stuff and he was always the even when he was the bad guy, he was the hero to me.
Yeah.
Like why are they shooting Godzilla? Like he's cool. Like so being cool as a kid, he's your hero.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the later Toho movies where he's always coming in and being the hero, that's when I was, the music's going the classic Toho music and when it starts playing and Godzilla's about to show up and save, you know, Angarius and or whatever he needs to do, that was awesome to me. So that's I'm sure somebody out there can for sure relate to that. Um, especially if you don't really watch a lot of movies as a kid, and then all of a sudden, mom or dad throws on Godzilla back in the day. Um, it could have been a big eye opener.
Yeah. Yeah, very irrational fear for me, but I'm also terrified of the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm not worried about like a slasher dude with a knife coming into my house, but, if I'm in the pool, I think the fish man from Creature from the Black Lagoon is gonna swim up and murder me, just completely irrational.
Yeah, the two. the two adult fears that I have, and I could face them for sure. I just choose not to. It's why do I need why do I need to do that? Is one not being able to see my feet if I'm swimming.
Yep.
So like I'll swim in the ocean, but it's very I every time we go to the like Florida or something, it's for a family vacation. I'd much rather just hang out on the beach and read a book. When I go out into the ocean and I can't see my feet anymore, I'm stressed. I'm
Oh,
like,
good.
man, like, dude, why do I need to be here? And so yeah, the like a creature of the Black Lagoon, because we used to from Kentucky, instead of going into a pool, we used to go there. There's multiple places around here where you just go to the lake
Mhm.
and everybody'd swim out to the middle. Well, once you get to like 5 or 10 feet in, you can't see anything. You can't even see your chest at a certain point. So it's all for imagination at that point. And if you just watch Creature of the Black Lagoon and then
Yeah.
your mom takes you to swim in a lake and you're at 9 years old, it's gonna be bad.
Mm-mm. Nope, not for me. Very, very irrational fears from me there. All right, so next question here for Loreseeker. Have you been more attracted to the MonsterVerse or Toho as far as like getting into stuff and lore?
Yeah, pretty easy question for me. Toho's all fun. I dig it. But I'm not gonna come home and just throw on an old Toho movie. I would rather watch a clip on YouTube of King Kong versus Godzilla
Mhm.
or Jet Jaguar, but I'm definitely already planning to do a full rewatch of the MonsterVerse before Godzilla and Kong comes out.
Me too.
Um, so the MonsterVerse is new. It's um, aesthetically pleasing to look at. They're even the what year did 2014? Is that the first
Yeah.
one? Even the 2014 one looks like it could be debuted today. Like it's when they're doing the jump in with the flares, like it
Oh
all
my
looks,
gosh.
dude. It's just amazing. Gareth Edwards did a great job, and the lore is so it's very intriguing to me. Like the Monarch TV show is just one of those things that we get as a treat to expand the lore
Yeah.
and the whole. Not to get into spoilers, I guess, but they're expanding the lore through Monarch, and I'm excited for it. So I'm excited for Friday. We get another episode. Then I'm excited for April when we get the new movie.
So much good stuff going on. I love it.
So your next question is, what is a content blind spot that you have?
Okay. That's a fair question here. And I'm asking it to myself to be transparent. I have not read a lot of the Godzilla comics and graphic novels. There's so many of them. And what's crazy about them is that there's really no canon. Even some of the MonsterVerse stuff. It's tied in. It is canon. Some people say it's a loose canon, but it's not
Yeah,
necessarily known. There's people complaining like, "Oh, this should just put it in the movie." They've always done that with extended content, so that's just part of it. Um, so the comics, especially the stuff throughout the past 10, 20 years, big blind spot for me. I have still not finished Skull Island, on Netflix. I've not watched Singular Point or the Godzilla anime trilogy on Netflix, and
yeah,
I've also not watched. I've only watched like one of the Gamera movies, and I want to watch them all.
yeah.
And the fans here, the commenters, everyone, anytime we post about Gamera, and apparently I say it wrong. Apparently it's supposed to say Gamera, but I say Gamera because it fits the accent. I think it sounds cooler. And one of the
I
commenters,
always thought it was Gamera too, even before we made these movies
I
or
did too.
YouTube videos.
I did too. And someone commented one time, you say Gamera wrong, but it sounds cool. And I was like, well, I'll just keep doing it then. It must be the accent. I guess it's charming. It's like if Owen Wilson says something, wow.
Wow,
He's saying it wrong, but we like how Owen Wilson says it. So
wow.
We like how Dragon M says Gamera instead of Gamera because Gamera so professional. Gamera, he's got a little
Yeah.
flair to him, I
Well,
guess.
in Star Wars, even so, it's documented that the comics are lore, and so are the books.
Mhm.
But um, if there's an edit that needs to be made for a movie or a TV show's sake, they will 100% do it, but canceling the lore of the comic book or
Mhm.
whatever it is. Um, there's many examples. I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, but I know for a fact there's numerous examples of this where the comic book lore is completely different than the movie lore, but yet they still say it's canon. Um, got one for you, the Ahsoka.
Yes.
Ahsoka has her own book. She has her own book. 100%. It's all lore. The Inquisitor that she kills to get her lightsaber, her white blades, and then how they do it in Tales of the Jedi is two completely different stories. So when
Yeah.
you go now to the fact checker, any type of pedia or anything to look up the lore, there's huge discrepancies on this, and some people might tell you one way, some people might tell you the other, and at the end of the day, it's still the base story. Basically, she still kills an Inquisitor to get it. So just use your imagination, and that's how it is with the comics. Like I don't think it I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, it's all time consuming
It's bonus material.
and
It's homework, like you said.
bonus material, exactly. And if
Kinda like
they put something in a comic book or a video game and it happens, and then something gets changed up in the movie, just let it roll. Just let it go.
it's kinda like right now we have a lot of one of our recent videos is blown up out of nowhere. What happened to Skull Island? And it wasn't covered in any of the movies, and people are like, "Why didn't they cover it in the movies? Why didn't they?" Well, from a directorial standpoint, they had a reason to not do it, I suppose. Do I think Godzilla versus Kong should have been about 20, 30 minutes longer and included
Yeah.
some of the stuff either from the comics or the novelization, which is really good. There's some crazy stuff in the novelization, like, Ren Sarazawa tries to get, Walter Simmons assassinated
Mm.
because he knows that he's going crazy with the whole Mecha Godzilla project and everything. So that's a cool thing, but it's also would have detracted from what they felt was a good final wrapped up finished project
Yeah.
in the movie.
I remember watching Godzilla versus Kong in the theater, and I was like, why is Kong in this facility? It made no sense to me. But by the end of the movie, I completely forgot.
Because it didn't matter
And
at that point. Yeah.
because it didn't matter at that point, yeah. And then I never even thought to ask that question. And then you sent over the schedule for videos, and it's like, what happened to Skull Island? I was like, what's he talking about?
You go look it
Like,
up and you find out.
like what's wrong with Skull Island? Like, what does he mean? And I was like, well, I guess I'll just wait. And then when I read the lore, and editing the video and getting the script, I was like, oh, Skull Island is not there anymore. I mean, it is, but it's just like covered, like it's in a thunderstorm, and Kong can't inhabit this anymore, or whatever. And it just all made sense. So, some of these questions to the everyday fan, like my mom is an elderly lady now, and she would never ask that question because it doesn't matter to her. She's just in there. It's a popcorn movie. She's right. She just wants to eat popcorn and watch the movie. She's
Yeah.
never came and said, "Hey, son, what's wrong with Skull Island? Why was Kong in that facility?" And I think that's where they get when on the cutting room floor. Diehard fans should just understand what's happening. We'll cut this out so the mainstream audience can just watch the movie and have fun, and we'll save $10 because I'm sure it costs more money to have a 3-hour video in the theaters because it takes time and effort for the theater than it is for a 2.5-hour movie or whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the unfortunate aspects about show business is where you have to determine what is and isn't essential to the movie. And, you know, if you're a diehard fan, you're going to seek these answers out. And even if you're a casual fan. So if you're a casual fan, like, oh, I wonder what happened to Skull Island. You can come to our channel because we're going to give you a meat and potatoes answer, and you don't have to go buy or
It
rent
has to
or
be meat and
pirate.
potatoes
Yeah.
because we do the same thing. We mainly make shorts right now, and of course we will do more long form, and we have quite a few long form videos. But anything over 59.9 is not a short anymore.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't fit in the 60 seconds, we don't put it in there. So there's a lot of lore that we just omit because it's like, well, it is lore, but it's not as important as the other stuff. So we do that all the time.
And that happened with the Skull Island video. Part of the reason Skull Island was destroyed as well is from the Titan Camazots, that
Mhm.
big scary hellbat thing from the Hollow Earth that came up and was trying to cover and destroy everything in darkness. We
Yeah.
have a separate video on Camazots, so I didn't feel it necessary to include it in this Skull Island video that focused on Ghidorah's storm,
Mhm.
combining with the perpetual storm that was already around Skull Island. And everybody's like, "Oh, you forgot this, you forgot this," and I was like, "Well, actually, go watch your other Camazots video." And if I
Yeah.
didn't have the Camazots video, I could have been like, "You know what? Maybe I should make a part 2 to this and explain that part," but we already had it, so,
Yeah.
you know.
I get those a lot in the Star Wars comments, like, "Hey, you forgot this." No, I didn't forget it. If you could watch me delete stuff in my Word document, you know I didn't forget it.
Yeah, if you
Um,
sat in the recording studio with either of us, you'd probably hate our content because of how nitpicky and editing and changing
yeah.
we are of everything.
I can answer 3 and 4 as one question,
Yeah,
for me.
that actually makes sense, and I can answer my 3 and 4 very easily too, very quickly. Yes, let's do your 3 and 4.
Okay.
So, 3 and 4 questions 3 and 4 is, do you have a favorite monster movie? And what is your favorite, uh we'll keep it strictly to Toho. What's your favorite Toho monster?
Yeah, my favorite Toho movie is Godzilla versus Megalon. It just has so much it has a lot of characters, and, like, the last 45 minutes of that movie is just straight up monster fighting monster. I love it.
Yes.
Megalon's a great, monster, a villain, um, and the team up, the 2 on 2, it just doesn't get better than that. Like, I just it's well choreographed. That Godzilla design is very pleasing to me. I think he looks cool. The suit moves well. It's a solid movie, and the that's one of those that I've actually watched multiple times. Even the human story is pretty good for that as well.
Yeah, it really is.
Favorite monster is hard. I, I would have to just go with Godzilla, and I love King Kong and I love King Caesar. But every time I watched Godzilla versus Kong, I was always mad as a kid that King Kong rose to the top of the ocean
Mhm.
and I never saw Godzilla. And I was so like, oh, it frustrated me because I said I do like Kong. But I was like, why did it have to be Kong? It's the Stan Lee thing. Why are you doing this to me? My poor child brain just couldn't handle it. So Godzilla for sure. He's the movie, he's the main guy. Um and wherever Godzilla goes, you know, you really can't have a MonsterVerse without Godzilla. So yeah, Godzilla's my favorite. Then King Kong, but I like the villains too. That that core group: Godzilla, King Kong, King Ghidorah, um, Megalon. All those are all cool. Those are all cool characters.
They really are. So, I actually have a lore answer to the ending of King Kong versus Godzilla.
Here we
And
go.
sneak peek for everybody who makes it this long in the video. You're incredible. So here's a little bonus for you.
Yeah,
The rumor's always been that there's 2 endings to the movie. In Japan, Godzilla wins. In American version, King Kong wins to keep the American fans and the Japanese fans happy. It's always been the rumor.
mm,
I don't know if it's actually true or not. I'm about to figure out. I just bought the Criterion Showa era Godzilla set. I
yeah.
have the Japanese version of that movie here in my office. Gonna
Man, dude,
watch
if
it
they if
probably Monday.
Godzilla comes out of that water, I have to know the answer. Like this has to be a video now because I really was I like it just infuriated me because I was like, they're like he's falling in water. You're putting him in his natural element. He can't drown. And maybe that was, maybe as an adult, I kind of figured out now the reason they show Kong float to the top is because you need to see him float to the top. Because he can't just hold his breath underwater. Godzilla never has to come to the surface because that's literally his home. You just
Yeah.
you fell into the water. So
There's a
Godzilla
bonus
could keep
answer
going
too.
down.
There's
Yeah.
even a bonus answer that you continue with Godzilla going
No,
down.
I'm done with that. That's my thing. Just
Okay,
have
so what after Godzilla and King Kong fall into the ocean? What happens before King Kong emerges? Do you remember? There's an earthquake, right?
a mudslide,
Okay, there's a
right?
mudslide or earthquake.
Yeah.
in the next movie, and the continuity of the Showa era is kind of weird. But most people consider a lot of the Showa era movies to kind of roll, but head to tail as kind of a loose continuity. In Mothra versus Godzilla,
Mhm.
1964, Godzilla's first appearance, he rises out of the ground. He was buried underground. So he falls in the ocean, tunnels back underground to go into hiding underground
Mhm.
until 2 years later he's ready to rise again. So they don't show him, but they show a little bit of what happens. A little sneaky. It was some pretty good storytelling there. So we're gonna do at
That
least 2 videos covering all that.
continuity in Toho videos as a kid is really tough
Oh, it's
because
hard to explain even nowadays.
yeah, because whenever you made the video about why he was in ice,
Mhm,
um, I was like, because I look at every Toho video as a singular movie, right? It's
mhm,
just that movie for that story. So every single time it's a brand new story. There's no continuity from anything.
yeah.
And that's how I always because like I said, I watched these as a kid. I bet you if I watched them now, it would make a lot more sense, and I probably should do that. But yeah, every movie was just a different story. It's like, oh, this is a new comic book, right?
And it
And we're
really
starting
is
from
that way.
the beginning. Yeah. Um. So the we're gonna double up your questions too. Is there any Godzilla project you didn't care for? And then what is the one you cared for the most?
Um, I know that anime is essential to so many people and people love it. I'm into Godzilla. I check all of the check marks of someone who would really be in anime, but I've never been into it. I've never watched any, unless you consider King of the Hill to be Texas anime. If so, I'm a big fan of Texas anime, King of the Hill. But I never got into any anime, Dragon Ball, anything except I guess Pokemon a little bit. But it was because of the cards and monsters, so it wasn't really a true anime experience. So, Singular Point, I really, really have struggled to watch. I got to be honest.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
It's a series on Netflix. It's called Godzilla Singular Point, and the main aspect of it is Jet Jaguar. So you might actually like it, but
Yeah.
it is it is anime through and through as far as, the character designs, the music, everything. It is anime through and through,
Like, is
and
the
as someone
style
who's
of art like Star Wars Resistance, like more kid anime, or is it more adult anime? That makes
I would
sense?
say it's a let me see here, Godzilla
'Cause I'm
Singular
sure other
Point.
people listening to this probably don't know what it is either.
Yeah, we can do a screen share real quick, right?
I don't wanna risk anything.
I'll send
I'm
you the art
rusty.
style for it real quick. It is very much like,
I'll bring it up, a singular point. Singular point. You can keep talking, I'll look it up.
yeah, so that's the only thing that really I never got into, a Singular Point, and even the anime trilogy. But I like certain anime movies and stuff like that, so I'm going to watch the anime trilogy eventually. I just struggle to get into it primarily.
It's more I would say this is more adult anime.
It is for sure. It's got more like the Dragon Ball style art and stuff like that, but it's more gritty.
Yeah.
Like even like I love Star Wars, but I've not watched season 2 of Star Wars Visions because there were some good, like, Star Wars Visions. It was, like, anime versions of standalone, non-canon, just random Star Wars style stories, like, anime and Star Wars stories, and I really struggled to get through the 1st season. Like, there was, like, a rabbit girl, and I was like,
Mhm.
"What is going on here?" Like, it was a little too much for me, so I didn't watch the 2nd one. So, that's about all I've struggled with, and then as far as my favorite Godzilla movie, I gotta say Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the original one with King Caesar. Just because me and my brother wore that VHS tape out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, bad.
those movies, man, those old VHSs really there was a few where I rewinded it so much, like, it just didn't work anymore. I was like,
Yeah,
"Man, I'm gonna have to Mom, I need another one. Bring in another one." Or, like, "Can we go down to, Blockbuster and rent a couple Godzilla movies?" Like, I used to do that all the time. They just wouldn't work anymore.
Block
Um,
Blockbuster, I miss it, man.
I know for a fact that happened to a couple of Godzilla movies because I remember, watching them on the big TV that's like furniture. You know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about? Like it's
like the fabric speaker covers on the front that are built in.
yeah, and then like
Yeah,
the top part of the TV is a shelf and everything. Like I remember watching it on that, and you just like I just watch them so much. Like every time, like on the weekends, that's all I would do is just watch like 4 or 5 Godzilla movies in a row. Then after that, probably throw in a Power Ranger and then a Star Wars at the end of the night. That's all I did growing up. I didn't,
same here.
you know, I went outside a lot, but there on days where I was staying inside, right? Like on a rainy day or whatever, it was in my youth, like from like 6 to maybe 10, it was always movies. And then it went into books as a teenager, which I'm very grateful for. Um, but yeah, man, that's where I got all the media from. And then, when you're 16, the DVDs and stuff are already out there by then, and watching DVDs and all that. But yeah, VHSs, those are crazy.
I think that
An
was actually the
archaic
first
device.
movie. That was the first movie I bought. So, like, our generation growing up like teenagers, one of the best gifts, I don't really pronounce that T there. Wow. One of the best gifts you could get was someone buying you an iTunes gift card and you buying digital versions of movie to go put on your old iPod that had the screen where you could watch movies on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I probably had like 100 pirated movies downloaded, and I'd put them on my iPod for long road trips for like football and different sports games when I was playing a lot of sports in high school. I'd like, "Hey, who wants to watch Dumb and Dumber? I got a headphone splitter back here.
Yeah.
Let's watch Braveheart. I got it on my iPod. Let's go."
It's funny you did movies. I did pirated pirated it was called Beyond the Glory. It
Yeah.
was a sports show. And I had Allen Iverson, I had Kevin Garnett, and I would just watch them all the time, like the documentary on Kevin Garnett's growing up
Mm.
and all that. But back to the VHS thing too. I remember my grandpa, typical grandpa, go over, always eat food, hang out, go out to the garage a little bit. But when you're inside watching TV, it's old westerns, Chuck Norris, those type of videos. We used to watch my favorite Chuck Norris movie is Firewalker. I remember we would watch Firewalker, then we'd watch like Lone Wolf McQuade. But I had a routine, like because my grandpa was injured in Vietnam, so he took him forever to get off the couch. So I would always race. I'd get up, run across the living room, get the VHS out, and then there was a car. Um, it didn't really look like a car, but you knew it was a car. And then you would hit it, it would open up, you'd put the VHS in, you'd shut it, the headlights would turn on, and it would rerun the VHS.
That is
And I'd put it
incredible.
back on the shelf. And my grandpa was very nitpicky. I don't know what happened to these VHSs. I wish I could because they kept the plastic on, and I'd put it back in the cabinet and shut the cabinet or pull out the new video and we'd watch the next video. So he kept all his stuff mint. And I think that's why all my stuff, I think I got that from him. I try to keep my items as nice as possible. Um, like the monitors that I'm looking at, remember I just posted in the Discord. I've had these since 2015 and they work like day one. So I've had them for almost 10 years now.
Take care of
And
stuff that works.
you just care, yeah, you just get the best bang for your buck. But that is all the questions. We're at an hour, 15 minutes, which is not bad at all.
We've had longer discussions before.
Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
longer discussions for sure. I'd like to know. I just want to see how well this does. Hopefully everybody likes it. Hopefully people stick around. It's going to be kind of like a podcast, I guess.
It
But
really
we're
is.
going to plan on doing a live form version of this with new questions whenever we reach the next milestone, which would be 5,000 subs. Um, however long that takes is up to the algorithm.
I'll tell you this much, with how everything's rolling, I think we could have let me look right here. Since we started this, we've got 7 subscribers just since we started this video.
Yeah, some videos are really, really moving.
It's really crazy. So we got to get some more. We got to get some more in there. I recorded I think 3 videos this morning. It's my day off, so I woke up. I'm a big sports junkie. I know, a Godzilla fan. We're diverse here. Okay, we got a lot of interest going on, talking about Kevin Garnett and AI and stuff like that. We're diverse dudes here. We're not just one thing. A lot of different flavors going on.
I can pretty much hop into any type of fandom chat and
Yeah.
understand the gist of it and have a full conversation with people, like,
Yeah, I can have a
from
favorite character in about 10 minutes and be taking sides in chat, yeah.
and just like, because I get the base gist of it, like Dungeons. I can do Dungeons and Dragons, Pokemon, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, um, Game of Thrones. Um, and then you just keep going and going. It's like, man, I got base knowledge on almost all this stuff. We're just nerds, man. Um, and
Nerds.
even with our sports, we get all nerdy. I know you do like fantasy stuff. Um, I had the game on the Indiana versus Lakers game because it's the in season tournament, and then I had the stats up on the board just
Yeah.
because we're nerds, man. We just want to know that stuff, like how many turnovers people have, how many blocks they have.
And I
Um,
love analytics in sports. I like the data. I like the
yeah,
stats. I'm a junkie for that. Yeah, because that's what it is. When I fired up and I was playing my Madden franchise, and I really botched some free agency moves, and I had a player coming off an MVP season. He wanted 50 million a year. I cut him and signed 3 players to take his place. Just and
yeah.
then I paused because I got frustrated and recorded 3 YouTube videos and went Christmas shopping. So days go crazy for sure. But this has been a really fun live little recording session. It's ended up being like a live long form podcast. If you made it this far, um, if you made it this far,
Oh,
prove it. There's a link.
yeah.
You
Prove it.
can join our Discord channel and you can chat with us. Our Discord's not super active, but we're active in it. We'll chat, especially if new people get in there. You're welcome to
We're
join.
definitely active there.
Yeah, you're welcome to come join in on the fun. Get to know some people. Like we said, uh, we're about lore. We're about meat and potatoes, but we're also building a community here. Anytime people have video suggestions or ideas, it's like you can send them over. You can comment. Hey, this is a good idea. We've made at least probably what 5 videos based on people's ideas in the comment section.
Sometimes
We
that's
do
a
great.
good way, man, because like
It is.
we'll we'll actually run out of ideas. Like, man, I don't know what we don't know what to make, and then somebody will say something and be like, "Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's run off that."
Spawn a couple
Um,
of ideas.
Discord's a good place to communicate because we'll see it. It'll be archived there. One of us is bound to see it.
Yeah.
I check it at least twice a day. So, yeah, I'll post all the links, the other channels that I do, and the Discord link down below. And like I said, well, yeah, we'll do the live version. So,
We'll do it
anything
live.
else you want to cover?
No, man, I think we're good. Like I said, if you made it this far, thanks. And if you haven't seen Godzilla minus one and you're a Godzilla
Yes,
fan, go see it before it gets out of theaters. They've already extended the theatrical run by at least another week, maybe 2 at this point because it's doing well. It is now the highest grossing live action Japanese movie ever released in the US, and it accomplished that in 1 week.
dude, it was one of the best experiences I've had in theaters in the last couple years. There's a few that I can think of. Interstellar, The Force Awakens, um, Infinity War, and Godzilla because it was just so unique, man. I just did not expect it to on a random day in December in 2023 with hype, but only if you're in the know, right?
Yeah.
Like I told my mom, I was like, "Hey," she's like, "What are you doing today?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go and watch the new Godzilla movie." New Godzilla movie?
Yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah,
like
it's
no
the
marketing for it.
I was like, "It's the Japanese version. It's not the MonsterVerse Godzilla and Kong." She's like, "Oh, well, okay, have fun." And then I come back and I'm like, texting my mom, I'm like, "Dude, this is crazy." I was like, "You got to go see this before it's out of theaters," because obviously she loves sci-fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't even know about it. So, and she's pretty good at staying on top of those things. So, um, do it because if you watch it at home, it'll be an experience.
It's
But
not
it's
the
just
same.
one of those things that you want to catch. Oppenheimer. It's good, but it's not as good if you're not watching it on the big screen.
I
So
agree. It's definitely that level of experience for sure, especially seeing it for the first time. Like I'm gonna watch it at home. I got a good 4K, TV setup. That's great, but it would not be the same the first time if I watch it compared to theaters. It just won't be the same.
yeah,
So go see that. Definitely check out links for Loreseekers' other channels. This one would not exist if the other ones did not. So if you're into Batman, military, and world history. Definitely Star Wars. Star Wars is the big one. That's the channel to go check out because no division, no clickbait, no BS. It's a meat and potato Star Wars channel, and it's so much fun. So, that's the one that got me involved in all this, and I think when we do our live stream, I think we've loosely planned. I think we're gonna rewatch and maybe rank the MonsterVerse movies, possibly. And if we get to
Yeah.
5,000 before New Empire, cool. We have a fresh ranking and discussion on the MonsterVerse going in. But if it happens afterwards, then New Empire can be factored into that ranking even.
Dig it. All right, guys. We appreciate your time.
Later.